Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to week 15. Can you believe it? Uh, Not so much going on, but there's a lot going on, if you know what I mean. It's the end of the semester. We literally have 2 weeks left. So I just want to give a rundown of kind of what we're up against and what we need to do to finish strong. Okay. Uh, so at this point in time, I've talked to many of you about your post-colonial essay. So hopefully that is going well and putting that together. I elected against having kind of online writing workshops, etc., because I figure at this point in the semester you have a lot of work to do, and you've gotten a lot of feedback from me, and you've seen a lot of samples of these different essays at this point in time, and so I wanted to ease back on the official workload and let you kind of work at your own pace. That being said, uh, the post-colonial essay is going to be due on Friday the 11th at 11:59 p.m. on Canvas. So we do have a couple weeks, and I do encourage you to stop by my office hours and talk to me about what you're doing with that essay, or ask any questions, or pick my brain and get some feedback ahead of time. There will be no opportunity to revise this essay, so taking care of that beforehand is the best course of action. Again, if you want to get extra credit on the post-colonial essay, please turn it in ahead of time and make an appointment with me to do a grading conference, and you can get feedback and add a little bit of extra credit ahead of time. But you have to turn it in before the 11th. Let's be realistic. Friday at about noon is when I will no longer be available on the 11th. So anytime up until then, we can chat. Okay. Just looking at my calendar over here to my left. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the Hunger Games. Right. I sent out in my last announcement. I sent out the complete PDF for anybody who wanted it, and this week we're going to get started officially with the story, right? And so we're going to read about the first half of it this week and the second half of it next week, and we'll have an essay, kind of an in-class essay due on the weekend between the 11th, 12th, and 13th. That little essay will be due, and then we'll be done. Okay. So this is an interesting little book. I know most of you have, or many of you have read it. I know a lot of you have talked to me in the past already, and that you've been kind of obsessed with the Hunger Games in your adolescence, junior high, right? And it's a young adult book. It's a bit on the childish side, right? However, I think that when we take the lenses that we've developed over the course of this semester and we start to apply those lenses to this particular novel, that it opens up in so many different ways. It's far more complex than a simple little teenage love story. There's a lot more going on. And so keep an eye out for that, and use that analytical lens to unpack what's really happening here. But I would argue that this novel is really about a battle of gendered and class-based hegemonic power, right? And Katniss is not battling the foes in the Hunger Games; she's battling this system of power. Okay, and it really does lend itself to that kind of an analysis. I have two optional articles. Since we're a little light on time at the end of the semester, I'm going to make these two articles optional. The first one is called Fetishism by Sigmund Freud. And it's a little wacky. It's a little far out. I've included this video here where the guy does a pretty good job of breaking down the actual kind of theory from Freud's perspective, and then he applies it to sexual fetishes. We're not going to think about sexual fetishes. That's not what we're focused on with this piece. What I really want you to do is, as you're starting to think about this fetish, realize that what Freud describes as the phallus is really just any inanimate object that is imbued with masculine power, right? And so I ask everybody to think of Rye and the gun that Rye has at in speech sounds, right? Many of you commented on this fact that Rye doesn't need the protection of Obsidian. She kind of goes with him because she wants to, right? Which is a kind of reversion of a typical gendered power structure, right? Where the woman might kind of be indebted to the man for his protection, and then accept kind of that second-class citizenship as a trade-off, right? Because he's got that power as being a man. Okay. Now, with fetishism, what we're going to do is kind of think about how that power is transferred to an inanimate object, right? So Ryan the gun becomes a phallic symbol. That gun becomes the power of masculinity, and Rye is able to wield that power of masculinity to protect herself. We could also think of Connie in And the Deep Blue Sea as also kind of as a fetishized symbol of masculine power, right? The fact that Connie is alive and whenever Harry is on Connie, she's protected, right? That literally was power put into Connie by Nick, right? So that's that symbol of masculine power that enables Harry to be a badass, okay? And so we're going to look for more symbols of that kind of masculine power as they appear throughout the story. So I've given you the article and this little video. But the video, second half of the video, he jumps into actual sexual fetishes. He takes it more of a literal. We're going to think of fetish as more of not a literal, but a figurative symbol of power. Okay? And then the other article, and this is a shame that we've kind of run down on time, is Panopticism by Michel Foucault. And now this is one of my favorite articles of all time, of ever, right? Because it really digs deep into social control and how the few can control the many, right? It's very dense, it's very complex. So I've done as much as I can to try to help break it down in ways that might be accessible to everybody. Okay. Focus most intently on pages 3 through 7. Kind of skim through the first little bit of it. Right. In the first bit, Foucault is talking about how old systems of power required extensive and oppressive manpower, and that was it's just not feasible to do on a long-term process, right? And so that's when he's talking about the plague town, and he talks, and that is, complete control by, like, basically an army has to lock down the town. If you want to control a population, having an army in place for every little town is impossible, right? And then he juxtaposes that with what he calls the leper colony. And the leper colony is kind of the exact opposite, right? You want to take the lepers out of population, and you kind of just take them and you put them in a separate place, and they're free to basically govern themselves, out of sight, out of mind. There's nobody at all controlling them. They, in fact, then erect their own communities under their own auspices, right? And so what Foucault is kind of proposing is a dialectical synthesis between the plague town and the leper colony, in which you can have complete control with minimal manpower. Right, and so that's what he's talking about when he starts to unpack Jeremy Bentham's concept of the panopticon prison, right? And so I've kind of left you with a number of videos. Some of them are a little bit long, but they all will help you kind of grasp onto what's happening in this article. And then I've also left you with a document with my favorite quotes and some commentary on some of those quotes. Okay. As we move through the rest of the unit, you'll see some familiar hypothesis pages where I've broken up the complete book into small chapters and just basically asked you for the first half of the book to read through the chapters and to post moments that you find any connection between anything that we've read this semester, right? So whether it's the secondary sources for feminist thought, first wave, second wave, or the post-colonial, or fetishism, or the panopticon, anything and everything, let's unpack those symbols to help us start to dig deeper into the piece, okay? Next week we'll finish up the book and we'll have some group discussions on what's really happening, and then we'll finish up next week with a little in-class essay exam. timed writing exam that I will open up on Friday at about noon. Friday the 11th about noon. Okay. So if you have any questions, you know where to find me. I wish that you all are able to finish strong and to put this 2020 school year behind us. Until then, I'll talk to you later.